How Peru Changed My Life, aka Deepening into Hamelech, to become the sovereign of me. Hamelech. Hamelech hayoshev al kisei v'nisar. The king sits on his exalted throne. Cantor Caitlin chanted that earlier, slightly different, but pretty much the same. The king sitting on his exalted throne, not necessarily language that resonates with all of us, and yet a critical theme and framework of these holy days. Over the years, I have wondered, what can I do in the face of this recurrent word? What can help me open my heart and connect more fully to who I want to be? I know how that challenging word does not do that. So is the only option to live with it, manage through, ignore it, try to not be too put off? This summer, over our sabbatical, we took a family trip to Peru, and I had an experiential education lesson about a different way to relate to this normally troubling term. Background, why we chose Peru. Because all the following interests could be combined in this single country. Rabbi Josh loves mountains. Shlomo loves cities and history. Zev loves animals and wildlife, and according to the most recent October National Geographic, the Amazon River and jungle is one of the most important places on Earth. We could go there. For us as parents, we wanted to show our children a different way of living than what they are exposed to here. As for me, I just didn't want to be on the move too much. I wanted to be able to sink in a place, another place, another place. And so we made our plans where we could each have those needs and interests met. From our first immersive trip, which was in the jungle, and to the last, which was circumambulating Mount Ausangate, I would find out that I was actually going on this trip for another reason, to learn how to deepen into becoming the sovereign Hamelech of me. Min hametzar, from the narrowness, Katia, I call out to Yah. So we landed in Lima at the end of June, and after a couple days acclimating to a new land, we flew to the jungle town of Iquitos, city of Iquitos. We connected with the Jewish community there over Shabbat, and then we ended up on Sunday, the following Sunday, we took a 2.5-hour boat ride up the Amazon River to the lodge where we would be staying for a week. So after all the hustle and bustle of logistics at so many different levels and managing people and being in a country that I'd never been to before using my high school Spanish, here we were on this boat ride. There was no one else to finally attend to and nothing else to finally worry about. Others were sitting on their own. We had a long boat ride. They were reading, listening to music, and there was just me. Even the noise of the motor drowned out possibilities for conversation. It was a sunny morning, and I was on the Amazon River. What do I know about this river? My thoughts drift to my teacher, Rabbi Shefa Gold. She's led river trips on the Amazon, and she talks about how the Amazon River has taught her. What will the Amazon teach me? I wonder. I'm sitting in the front of the boat. The hatch is open. I can look up at the sky. I like looking at the sky on a sunny day. There's a couple clouds. I like looking at clouds and wondering what their shapes are. And I wonder, oh, will these clouds hint at a message for me? So right now, imagine being there with me, No one else, nothing else to do. The warmth, the sun, looking at the clouds and wondering. And bring your attention to your body. What does it feel like, this openness, this wondering for you in your body right now? Maybe you feel yourself beginning to relax, kind of settledness, expansiveness. Curiosity, what does curiosity feel like in your body? Where does it sit? What's awakened? So I experience a breadth, a spaciousness, kind of an open, kind of like antennas all out in a way, a subtle sensations. So I'm looking at the clouds and I'm looking at the shape and I start to see a shape. Oh, it looks like an alligator. And it looks like its jaws are open. And it looks like our boat is going right into those open jaws. And we can laugh with nervousness. And maybe you feel in your body what I felt in my body, a slight cringe, a tightening of descent as opposed to an ascent. I feel the beginning of fear creeping in. What have I gotten myself into? Min Hametzal. Psalm 118, Rabbi Shefa Gold's composition. From the constriction, Katia, I call out to ya. I realized later that it wasn't an alligator, it must have been a caiman. 1993 was the first time that I traveled abroad internationally, and I did so by myself. I was going to Israel for a year. And between 1993 and 2006, I lived abroad for 6 years. I traveled to many different countries. I spoke the language. I didn't speak the language. At that time, we used guidebooks and pocket language dictionaries. Now, of course, it's very different with Google Translate and so many other things, Uber apps. But it's not only different for me traveling now because of the technology, it's also different because I am a mother. Fortunately, I have different tools available over this course of the years to support me in being a mother and in being me and traveling abroad. So as I feel that cringe encroaching and I feel the tightening in my body and I feel the blood starting to rise into my head, the search for control in a situation where the only thing I can control is my internal state, I slow my breath, I deepen my presence, and I expand in the face of this understandable constriction. And it makes a small difference. Over and over again, over the course of that week, I get to deepen my practice. What is my internal state? How am I being inside? What amount of constriction can I be aware of? Am I in my head? Am I tense? Am I ready to pounce? I tap into my animalness, practicing what animals can easily do. Take care of your needs in a state of calm, expansiveness, relaxed beingness, until it is actually the time to take flight, to run, to flee, to attack, to play dead. So over and over again, as I face unfamiliar, vulnerable situations with caimans, piranha, deadly snakes, painful biting ants, puma, all that held seeds of danger to myself or even worse, to my children, I would feel that slight contraction of my protective instinct. Min hametzal. And I would call out, Katia. want to be? Is this instinctual response actually serving me right now? Am I more effective and aligned with how I want to be when I am contracted in the face of these puma tracks? They're 5 days old. They aren't recent, they aren't just now, and the puma is not in front of me. 5 days is not so long ago, and it's not right now. So can I open to the excitement of seeing these tracks with Zev and wondering, did the puma go like this? Then it switched and jumped over there. Then it went over there. These crisscrossing tracks, getting to play and explore these fresh sandbar tracks. And looking over and seeing Shlomo bouncing on this log that must have come when the rains had swelled the Amazon River, and this humongous tree was stuck into the sandbar, and Shlomo's bouncing along. Can I expand into the joy and the opportunity right now? There is no need to panic. Anani, answer me. Vamerchavia, with breadth and expansiveness. Vamerchavia. So eventually the week in the jungle came to a close. We have survived. We have grown, I have grown, and we are on to our next journey. Over the next couple weeks, we open our eyes and our hearts to so many new things, and eventually it was time to go to the mountains. We'd slowly been acclimating to the elevation and had all been doing fine. We prepared our bags for a 6-day trek, supported by a wonderful, experienced guide and a staff who prepared nourishing, delicious food, took care of all of our belongings. We were in competent, experienced hands. We were strong, we were healthy, and eventually it was time to head out. We were told it's okay to go slow at this elevation, especially as we start climbing. Well, as it is, I'm a person who loves going slow, so I was very happy to hear that. The first day we walked for just 2.5 hours to arrive at our stopping place for the night. Our guide had thought we would get there in 1.5 hours. We went slower than he'd anticipated because of me. But everything was still okay. We settle in. After dinner, he shares the plan for the rest of our trip with us. It gets very cold very quickly at over 14,000 feet, without any campfire. But we drink some hot tea, we get into our sleeping bags, into our liners, we go to sleep. We try to go to sleep. I try to go to sleep. I have lived in cold temperatures. I literally left ice cubes on my counter in Japan one winter for several hours before realizing they were there and putting them back completely in their full formation. I worked at the Patagonia outdoor store. I know about layering clothes. We had warm clothes. But that night, that first night, I somehow got so chilled to the bone in a way that I had never known before in my life. And on top of that, I couldn't actually breathe well either. I could breathe during the day, but not that night. Relax, I told myself. Breathe into your pelvic floor. Remember what you practiced in the jungle. Anani, answer me, vamerchavia, with spaciousness. After trying that for quite some time, as my teeth began chattering, I knew I needed help. My attempts at creating expansiveness in the face of the constricting cold were not working. And sometimes we can't do it by ourselves. We need to call for help. Josh, I whispered. Something is wrong. Get Lucho. That night, we were able to shift things around, and I was able to get the help I needed. The next morning, we reassessed the plans, made some other changes. We took another day for me to acclimate at this elevation, to warm up in the sun, to get the sleep I missed the night before. And the following day, we were ready to go, to continue our trek as we had originally planned. So step by step, we moved forward into this vast, beautiful, sparse landscape of alpacas and peaks of ancient rock. Step by step, I was regularly the last, but we were always progressing just fine. I had figured out how to be warm at night. I had figured out how to arrange my sleeping bag and my things just so I could sleep at an incline at night. I could sleep and breathe deeply at night. We were closing in on our second to last night of the trek. The periodic cough that I had over the past couple days lasted a little longer that night. But eventually, Bamer Chavia and some other different things, I got it under control and was about to go back to sleep until I hear a call at the tent. Daria, it's Lucho. It was 1 a.m. He came in and asked me how I was. I'm fine, I'm not coughing anymore. Well, the expert was concerned. He checked my lungs with a stethoscope, gave me something to make it easier to breathe, and said, let's reassess in the morning, because I may be fine, or I may be at the risk of a pulmonary edema. So, for those of you who don't know, like I didn't know what that was, it's something that could be life-threatening, unless it's not life-threatening and it only causes other organs to fail. But maybe I only have a respiratory infection. So my mind says, something is very dangerous and could be very wrong, or maybe it's not, but maybe it is, and whatever it is, it's not good. So we'll see how I'm doing that next morning. And we'll continue with the plan if I'm well, or we'll leave the mountains, we'll walk for 3 hours to the nearest road, catch some kind of transportation that will be going by at some point on that road for the 4-hour trip to the nearest city, and there I can see a doctor. From 1 a.m. until we got up at 6:30 in the morning were the longest 5.5 hours I've ever spent. Over those hours, I felt the encroaching constriction, the fear, the unknown. Maybe I will be fine. Maybe I will not. What if I'm not? So right now, feel your body. What sensations are you experiencing in your body? Maybe you too feel a kind of slight, subtle contraction, tears behind your eyes or a choke in your throat. What's your chest feel like right now? Your jaw, your forehead. How deeply are you breathing? So I lay there in my warm sleeping bag, noticing how easy it would be to let my mind spiral down into constriction, into the meza. But to what end? Because maybe I will be fine. Karati ya. Either way, there is nothing that I can do except for rest for a big day tomorrow. And what I can do right now is to ground, to expand. Anani, answer me. Vahameher chavia, vahameher chavia. If my mind must be busy, let me explore ideas rooted in merchavia, in expansiveness. Ideas that will support my spirit whether or not my body is actually going to be fine. What do I want my children to understand from me? What do I want them to understand in their heart from me about what is truly important? What do I want my husband to know? However long I am in the best health possible, whatever that looks like, how am I using my life? How do I want to be in my body at any moment, regardless of whatever unfolds? I cannot avoid sadness or loss, but I do have a realm of influence, and I activate that by intentionally shifting from constriction to expansiveness, by calling out and allowing myself to receive help from others. And in so doing, I become Hamelech, the sovereign of me, sitting on the throne and governing the kingdom of me that moves in the direction and a way that I truly yearn for in the world. So have I now perfected my ability to avoid constriction and to live in a state of merchavia? No. Will changes like this for me in my life quickly end climate change and extremism, or bring home the hostages, or bring peace to Israel and Palestinians and Jews and the Middle East and the whole world? No. But without these kinds of shifts, I promise you, the path toward realizing such hopes is much more slow going and much more painful and full of suffering. So won't you join me in 5785 on deepening into the path of becoming the sovereign Hamelech of you? Feel that tightness in your body, a tightness created if you need, and ground and expand and breathe. On page 590 are the words I've been singing. I invite you to join me. Min hametzal katia anani v'merchavia v'merchavia. Amen. Shana Tova.